everybody? Welcome back to the 10th episode of the Between the Ears show here on Mountaineers Now, a Fan Nation SI channel. I'm Skylar Callahan, and I had to bring back Zach Campbell. I had so many people bringing up so many good comments about Zach for his last appearance on the show. So, Zach, welcome back. Only 2 weeks removed.
Cheers, man. Glad to be back. 2 weeks. It's my legs starting to bounce. It's starting to feel real. I love this time of year.
Yeah, we're only, I don't even know how many sleeps away we are from actual game day. I know it's 25 or so for the NFL, so it's probably under 20, I would assume, right?
Yeah, I mean we're today's one, so it's 2 weeks. It's 15, 2 weeks from tomorrow. It's 2 weeks from tomorrow. Yeah, oh 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Yeah. Things are coming around very fast. So today, last week, if you didn't watch our show, go and check it out. It's on YouTube. It's on our site at WVU. Me and Chris did a schedule breakdown, which was kind of cool. We took all the logos, put them in different categories, and whether they were going to win the game, lose the game. Maybe it was a toss-up, a lock loss, win loss, or a lock win. So make sure you go check that out. That was kind of a fun interactive video that we did. We're going to do some more stuff like that here probably in the next couple of weeks. But today, me and Zach, we are going to talk about the ceiling for this West Virginia team and the floor, because it is a pretty wide difference. I think we can all agree on this, because it's going to depend on a lot of things, obviously, but the quarterback spot and the health of that quarterback, being JT Daniels, is going to play a big factor in what this win total ends up being for West Virginia. A lot of national experts, a lot of the betting sites have West Virginia at 5.5 wins. I'm hammering the over on that, Zach. I don't know about you, but I'm not a great gambler, so I don't know if you want to take my advice, but we'll just start there. Does 5.5 seem too low for this team?
Yeah. I was listening to a segment, and forget the gentleman's name, but he's part of 247, was basically giving some of his crystal ball predictions and outlooks, and he's hammering the over hard. This was a couple weeks ago, and I almost thought he was like channeling me as he was speaking, because I was like, this is exactly how I'm looking at the season, and this is my outlook. He was buying West Virginia going at least 8 games in the win column this year. I think that under is weighted far too heavily on sort of the broad strokes. The folks in the national media look and see their attrition from last year, transfers, graduation, what have you, not really accounting for what they brought in. For some reason, JT Daniels is carrying this stigma around, like he's never thrown a pass in college, or he's never won, or he's never gone undefeated for an SEC team, eventual national championship team. I think there's a lot of things weighted against them that I don't think are completely accurate. So I think that 5.5 game win total is pretty low, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I mean, to me, if you just look at the beginning portion of the schedule, which we're actually going to bring up here now. So here we go. So this is West Virginia's schedule. You see Pitt, Kansas, Towson, Virginia Tech. Those are the first 4 games. If you beat Pitt on the road, I mean, Virginia Tech, I mean, you probably know more than me because you live in Virginia. You hear about it all the time. They're not going to be very good this year. Like, they're a whole rebuild, whole new coaching staff, a lot of turnover. It's tough to play in Blacksburg, especially on a Thursday night in a rivalry game. But it doesn't seem like there's that much to be concerned about that game. So I think there's a very easy path to 4 wins. And if you get to 4-0, you only need 2 more wins to hit the over.
Yeah, I think to your point, getting that win out the gate against Pitt is going to supercharge this team going into the rest of the schedule. And right now, I think the last time I saw the line, it was Pitt -7. So they're favored by a touchdown. Again, I think Pitt's one of those teams. I think the rose-colored glasses come into play with them because they won the ACC last year. But you take it a step further and actually, consider the context here. The ACC had its worst season as a conference in a long, long time, right? And Pitt's lost several of their, without question, best players from last year. So I think that's absolutely a game that West Virginia can win, and possibly should win. And then you go into Kansas and Towson. I've seen a lot of Kansas chatter lately on Twitter, on social media. Kansas is feeling good, really good about their team, and rightfully so, because Lance Leopold hasn't headed in the right direction. But I just don't see how Kansas is going to come in to Morgantown with, I think, a much improved West Virginia team and somehow steal that win. Towson is obviously that's if there's a tune-up game on the schedule, it's Towson. No disrespect to the Tigers there, but then
They're
you go into
they're not
yeah.
Madison.
Yeah, no, they're not the Dukes from Harrisonburg. And then Tech, to your point, West Virginia has been reliving a rebuild now for the last 3 years. We know exactly what that's like and how that feels. Tech is starting from scratch. I don't think Virginia Tech fans, proud bunch that they are, I don't think they're expecting a whole heck of a lot from their team this year. So for me, I have no problem envisioning West Virginia starting the season out 4-0. And that's going to be a good looking 4-0, because that's 3 wins against Power 5 teams, 2 out of conference, 1 in conference. Yes, it's Kansas, but
Big win.
You look around the country, within the Big 12, outside of the Big 12, very, very few teams in college football are playing 11 Power 5 teams this season. Like there are a very select few, and West Virginia is one of them. So they're going to get a lot of credit, I hope, if they start out 4-0.
And not only if they start off 4-0, but if they somehow were to beat Pitt handedly, and Pitt turns out to be a decent football team, like, let's say they win 8-9 games, that's going to look really, really good on the resume. And again, who knows what we're talking about here? Are we talking about like this is going to be a team that's going to maybe surprise everybody and win 10 games and they're in the New Year's Six discussion? Maybe, college football playoff, probably not. But I think for Neil Brown himself, he needs some signature wins, right? I mean, this is year 4 that he's heading into, and I don't really know of any signature wins. I mean, you could maybe throw Virginia Tech in there last year, but they weren't a good team last year. I mean, that was a good win for the program to win the Black Diamond Trophy. But I mean, other than that, I mean, can you think of any other big time signature?
I'll tell you what, I was at the Iowa State game last year. They were ranked 22nd. That was a very hard fought, kind of complete game.
It was a weird game.
It was a strange game, but you know what? Iowa State's a tough out year in and year out for pretty much everybody. They always upset somebody. They've been improving every year in recent memory. If I had to go for a signature win during Neil Brown's tenure, I would have to go with that based on the fact they were ranked. And Iowa State's had West Virginia's number several times over the years. And it was so close to being Oklahoma last year too, because you lose on a field goal at the end of expiration on the road. I mean, you were an inch away from getting an upset over top 5 Oklahoma. But yeah, I'd go Iowa State, but really it's been few and far between, because let's face it, West Virginia just hasn't won a ton of games since Neil Brown's been here. And I think with this team this year, again, yes, a lot of people have exited the program. There's been a lot of attrition, but they've also brought in a lot of people, and they return a lot of people, especially on offense. The entire offensive line's intact. You bring back 7 offensive linemen who have seen legitimate snaps from the last year or two. You bring back your entire wide receiving core for the most part, absent Winston Wright. You've got a loaded quarterback room. You got your 4 deep in the quarterback room. JT Daniels, former National Player of the Year, former starter at Georgia and USC, brings 5 stars with his name. And I like their running back core. Apparently Tony Mathis looks like all world. And then this kid, CJ Donaldson, who has kind of come out of nowhere, been making a lot of noise in camp. That's where I think the potential ceiling for this team versus the potential floor for this team is so wide. There's about a mile of ocean between those 2 points. And I think that's what makes it so interesting as we look through the schedule.
It's really weird, Zach, because like I've told everybody, close friends, family, it's so weird how I know a lot of you probably know that I also cover the Carolina Panthers, also cover the Charlotte Hornets. It's so weird how identical the Panthers situation and WVU football situation was the last really 2 years. I'm talking all aspects, the quarterback situation, the defense, the offensive line, just the how the season turns out. And it's still the same thing heading into this year, maybe a little bit different with the quarterbacks, but it's just so weird how they almost align. And I'm just like, can I get something completely different? Like, I want to see, I want to cover a team where I'm not talking about how bad the offensive line is or how good the defense is or, the quarterback situation being crap. Like, I want to see something different. But this year, it's the same thing again with both WVU and the Panthers in that both really teams, and I know no one really cares about this, but both teams have the potential to really be bad or be potentially really good. And for West Virginia, again, you look at the schedule, they have a chance to start a 4-0. If you beat Pitt, again, I think you cruise to 4-0, but things are going to get real, really quick. You got on the road at Texas, number 10 Baylor comes to town. No. Texas Tech has given you nightmares since Neil Brown has been on the job. TCU is going to be a high scoring offense. Iowa State, Oklahoma, like the list just keeps going on and on. The floor, let's start there. What is the absolute floor for this team?
So when I think of the floor for this team, I have to start with Pitt in that first 4-game run, because I think no matter what, West Virginia is going to split the Virginia Tech and the Pitt games. But let's say they lose to Pitt, that's going to start the season on the worst note possible. So then let's say you go, okay, you get the Kansas game, you get the Towson game, and then let's say you go on the road and you knock off a Virginia Tech team. So you're starting out 3-1. But that little extra momentum, that little extra bump that Pitt would have given you, and then you go Texas Tech, like you said, has had their number, or has had Neil Brown's number since he's been there. So all of a sudden you're looking at 3-4 losses already this season, right? Maybe you get a bounce back against TCU. Maybe you get a bounce back against Iowa State. Oklahoma, I don't think it's going to be nearly as forgiving. Yes, they've lost a lot of people. They're still going to be good. They're still going to be Oklahoma. Kansas State and then Oklahoma State, you lose. I say you split one of those two games. So, I mean, I think the floor for West Virginia, I mean, you're looking at least 5 losses.
Yeah.
That's the floor. You lose to Pitt, you lose to Texas, you lose to Texas Tech, and then, either Oklahoma or Oklahoma State. I think for West Virginia, you lose 5, you're sitting at 6-5, you barely hit bowl eligibility. And then your best case scenario is that you get a bowl game that you can win as opposed to last year. Right.
Terrible.
And then so with a bowl win, it's 7 wins, which is a game better than last year, but is it really that much of an improvement? Not really. And then you really got to start worrying about Neil Brown.
Yeah. I mean, I'll differ from you just a little bit, just because I like to be a little pessimistic according to the fan base, but I'll say the floor in terms of win totals got to be 6. I could see them actually winning only 5, but that's, again, if JT Daniels goes down and it's, rotating to our quarterback. But yeah, I would say with healthy JT Daniels, 6 wins is the floor. And the only reason I say that is because the first year he's with this team, you don't know how the start's going to go. What if you lose to Pitt? And then all of a sudden, I hate to say this, Zach, but what if you get Kansas, you come back home and then Kansas is looking at that game the week before and thinking, oh, man, Pitt beat them, so we got a chance to maybe get them while they're vulnerable. Maybe you trip up to Kansas, or maybe you go to Virginia Tech and you just can't overcome that ruckus crowd in Blacksburg. You lose 2 games there. You lose to Texas. You lose to Baylor. You got 4 losses already by early October or mid-October. So I think that's a tough thing for me to grasp. I would say 6 is the absolute floor. Anything below that, that's a fireable offense, in my opinion. But in terms of the ceiling, I'll go first. I think this is realistically 9 wins. I don't want to go quite to 10. I know that the potential is there. Winning 10 games is tough, man. And to win 10 games with this much change, I just don't see it, especially with the schedule that they have, when 11 Power 5 opponents. So I'm going to say 9. Am I selling them short by not giving them 10?
I think I wouldn't go as far as say you're selling them short. To your point, 10 is kind of a dream season
Yeah.
because you're allowing for losses to, I would say it's kind of a pick 'em between Texas, Oklahoma, and
Baylor, maybe?
we'll just say Baylor. But 10 wins is where I have their ceiling because I think they can absolutely do it. I think because it's a litany of things, but primarily it's because people are, for whatever reason, kind of not high on them. They're kind of overlooking them. I think JT Daniels, I don't think anybody really understands how much of a step up in talent and pedigree he is from what we've had the last 3 seasons.
Yeah.
I think he's good enough that he's going to be transformative across the offense, and then even as far as how it affects the defense, right? I think it's going to be that galvanized. I think because people are overlooking West Virginia, maybe they won't get their best shot from a few of these teams. And they'll probably, if you look at some of the games last year, it could have swung either way, but the Oklahoma game, just as an example, you're a possession, not even a possession, a down away, a flag away from upsetting them on the road. They were really close a couple times last year to pulling out some wins. And I think the amount of experience they have returning, with the amount of talent that they've added, on defense, because again, I think last time we were sitting down, I told you I love the defensive line. I really like the way the linebackers look. I think that's enough of a difference to push them over that hump. So I think 10 is very realistic. I think they get to 10 wins and go to a really good bowl game and win that, and then all of a sudden you're 10 wins plus a bowl win. All of a sudden we're living in a different world. No one's talking about Neil Brown's seat being hot. They're talking about, let's give this guy an extension.
Exactly.
Let's give this guy, let's give this guy the whole farm, back at the Brinks truck. So I think we're looking at a 5-game swing. Lose 5 or you win those 5. It's anyone's guess. I could see him going either way. That's why this season is so intriguing to me. And I just can't wait to see the games get played.
Yeah, this is a very telling year for Neil Brown. Zach and I actually discussed this the last time he was on here. So it's going to be interesting. I think, like you said, Neil Brown could either be in a position where could be arguing for another extension, or he could be fighting to keep his job. So we'll see. Season gets kicked off on September 1st in Pittsburgh at now Acrisure Stadium, not Heinz Field, against the number 17 Pitt Panthers on ESPN at 7:00. That's going to do it for today's show of Between the Ears. Zach, I thank you for joining us. We'll be back on the air here on Friday at 6:00 here on SIWVU. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at SI_WVU. You can follow me at Callahan_. And also be sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube at Mountaineers Now. For Zach Campbell, I'm Skylar Callahan for SI Mountaineers Now. We'll see you guys back here on Friday.